All right, hello everyone. You're listening to You Got It with Warrior Woman 91. Okay, you guys, I have a really exciting guest for this episode. She's one of the fastest up-and-coming YouTubers on the internet these days, and one of the few people who has ever gotten me to click on the subscribe button on YouTube. Pardes, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Woohoo! Hey, thank you for having me. And also, that is so cool. I had no idea. Like, I had no idea you're subscribed. I have really important people subscribe to my channel now. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. That's how you should feel, because I really am the most important subscribe that you can get. So you've pretty much arrived. I mean, PewDiePie is right under me as far as YouTube importance, but, you know, that's just the way things work. So you were one of my guests on my old show that I had, and since we had the opportunity to meet up in person, which was really amazing, I really wanted to have you on the show. I feel like a lot has gone on since then, though. So right at the beginning, I wanted to know if you wanted to tell the audience what other projects you're working on now. Obviously, you have a YouTube show, but if there's anything else in addition to that you want to add to that as well.
Well, there's the YouTube stuff. I'm trying to vlog a little bit more. So this weekend, actually, I'm planning to go with my friend Daniel Bostic. We're going to drive up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and try and film as much as we can about the Amish community. You know, do kind of like a vlog style, like a mini doc about it. And you know, as close as we can get, because they don't do like you know, video camera and stuff. They don't like to be on camera. So just because I think it's fascinating, and the Amish community reminds me a lot of the religious community that I grew up in. And so there's that. And then also I'm about to start a podcast with Culture, you know, Cultture. And that's like a new-ish online media outlet. So I'm excited about that.
All right, very cool. So social media has kind of been your thing for a long time. One of the things that I remember, I can't remember how many years ago it was, but I loved it when you dressed up really nice and then you went to the college campus and you had a sign that said something like, "I'm going to be transitioning into a man," or something. "Please give me money for my surgery." And so that's kind of one of the things about you that I love, like that you're just so willing to go and do stuff, just any stuff, to see how people will react. And you're like, it's almost like you're a social scientist, like an actual scientist, trying things out and seeing how will people react to this. So, we were talking a little bit about how we're kind of in the same place politically, mostly just we're kind of out of it game. We're kind of over politics a little bit. Do you feel like a lot of millennials are kind of in this place?
Yeah. It's the reason why people like Andrew Yang are so popular. I mean, Andrew Yang he's like a nobody when it comes to politics, and he's like, why was he even on the debate stage last night? It's pretty big. It's a pretty big deal that he got to that place, and it's because he's so not in the political scene. He was never in the political scene, and he's like, the way that he talks, his rhetoric, he speaks a lot about how everything is so politically divided, and why can't we just, he's a Democrat, so he says, why can't we just have conversations with conservatives? Why does it have to be so one-sided? And so people like that. Young people like that.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that not only was he on the debate stage, but he was on, like, the big debate stage with, like, big names like Biden and Sanders, and, you know, I'm not...
Biden.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm not a big fan of him politically, per se, but I really do respect the fact that he's willing to have a conversation with somebody, and that takes a lot of courage, unfortunately, these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'm not, like, a huge fan of his politics either. I think a lot of his politics are, like, Mickey Mouse politics. Like, I think a lot of people don't even care what his politics are. Like, this sounds like a, you know, free candy for everybody. And they're like, okay.
Somehow I wonder if he would actually be that much of a socialist, like, if he actually got in office, or if he's just saying things to be part of the Democrat Party, and then when he actually gets in, if he actually might moderate a little bit. But I think the thing that obviously draws him to the public is that he's like, you can't tell me who I can't talk to. And that's something that I really, like, this is something I respect about you, is, like, even if you have certain political beliefs, you're willing to talk to people who are completely the opposite. And I guess my question for you is, why do you think people put such a muzzle on themselves? Like, they voluntarily gag themselves and disallow themselves from having interesting conversations. Why do you think that is?
It's all reputation, I think. I think people are just afraid of being affiliated with certain people because then they might lose their social status. And especially now, because we've got social media and everything is just so connected virtually. And so, like, people, especially in politics, and Washington, D.C. is the epitome of this. I don't know anywhere else it's like this as much. People are obsessed with their reputation. So, like, you know, they won't affiliate with you. I have friends who are like, I mean, they really won't affiliate with certain people. Even if they'll have a conversation with you in private, they won't even look at you or say hi to you if they saw you. Because they don't want anybody to know that, oh no, I have interacted or have communicated with this person anyway.
Yeah, I just can't. It boggles my mind. I'm such a. I don't know. Maybe I'm not that open of a person, but I feel like I just want to have conversations with people, and I don't like a list of rules of here's who you can't talk to and here's who you can, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So,
Guilt by association. If you ever run for office, they'll be like, here's a story about how Kelly did an interview with a person who babysat for this person who happened to have dated, like, this other person who's a bad person.
I mean, it really is. It's this, like, domino effect of you had 1 30-second relation to this person in some vague way, and then all of a sudden your reputation is destroyed, and it's like this whole deal with like Pete Buttigieg and everything, and how somehow he's a racist all of a sudden because X happened in his community or something like that. I don't know. It's like you can just stick things to people, and if you just stick these labels to people, then all of a sudden they're othered. You can't talk to them anymore. I don't know. It's weird. What do you think? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, also, this is kind of like going back to the old topic, which is, sorry, I hope I'm not being annoying. But,
no, you're good.
So, you know how, like, Trump's kind of, like, he's a former Democrat, like a lifelong Democrat, and he just used, like, the Republican Party to, like, get in office. Mm-hmm. I mean, and he did push Republican ideas, but he was, like, you know, one of the few people who was willing to kind of, like, shift his own views. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's like that with Andrew Yang, but, like, the opposite. Mm-hmm. Like, he's actually, on the inside, I really, truly believe that he's a lifelong capitalist. Mm-hmm. Just if you look at his life and the way that he operates, he is a capitalist at heart. But socialism is, like, the populist left. Like, that's their fixation right now. So he knows that if he wants to win as a Democrat, he has to push those ideas. Like, the UBI thing is what made him famous. Mm-hmm. So, and that was a really smart move, I think, on his part.
Yeah, to do something that's really, I think, is probably one of the furthest left things that anybody has ever said, and that gets him attention. But then when he gets in office, it just kind of goes back to my other point of he'd probably moderate if he ever ended up going back in it, or actually getting elected. But what do you think needs to be done to make people, to break down these barriers, or, like, these, not language barriers, but, like, I don't know, it's almost like there's a caste system. There's this level of people that you want to talk to, there's this level of people that you are, and then there's this level of people that you can't talk to. And I don't want to have any of those barriers. I just want to be able to talk to people up and down the chain. What do you think needs to be done to, like, break through that?
You have to just be yourself, and just, like, the funny thing that I noticed is that a lot of people who worry so much about their reputation and play these games, mm-hmm. are actually, like, the people, like, and they don't realize it, but they're like people with bad reputations.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are cool and, you know, people will talk to them regardless of their political views, and they're just like, you know, they're fine, they've got a fine reputation, and like those people tend to be the people who don't care, because when you like, you teach people how to treat you, right? So when you show people that, like, I don't care what your political views are, and I'm totally comfortable with myself, and I can talk to whoever I want, people will treat you the same. They'll be like, oh, okay, you're right. Like, you can talk to whoever you want, and I can talk to you too, because you don't have that rule for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's like a subconscious thing, I guess. Like when you show that it's fine and you can talk to whoever you want, they'll feel comfortable to talk to you.
Yeah,
if they feel like it.
I totally agree with that, because I just find, like, I'm just going to use the gay marriage issue as an example. I get a lot of people that yell at me and call me, like, a homophobe and this and that, and they're always straight people for some reason, because I have quite a few gay friends, and they know that I disagree with them on that issue, but we just have decided, you know, my opinion doesn't matter to them, and their opinion doesn't matter to me, and we'll move on. And I just, like, they know that I'm not out to get them, and that I have my opinion, but that doesn't mean that I think that I can't have a conversation with you, and so they're fine with it. But for some reason, it's the people that are, like, the onlookers, the people who are on the outside of that relationship that are just
on their behalf.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if you noticed that with like any other interactions in your own life.
Oh yeah, like all the time. Like it's so funny, and it's so funny because I also get it for, like, I get it a lot for Jews and Persians, because, like, as a Jewish, I mean, I'm not religious, but I grew up my whole life Jewish and ethnically Jewish, and also Persian of Iranian heritage. Like, I always make fun of, like, certain things that, you know, make fun of Persians, make fun of, like, certain Jewish habits and stuff, just because, like, I grew up in it. I'm allowed to make fun of myself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I'm just always constantly getting people who are, like, offended on my behalf at me. It's, like, the most ridiculous thing ever. First of all, I do feel like people, when it comes to Jewish topics, people are already overly offended about everything. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, I'm getting people who are offended on my behalf at me. And it just feels like the most ridiculous thing ever. It's one thing to be offended on behalf of somebody else. They're not offended, and you're being offended on behalf of them. It's another to be offended at someone. And it's like when people call black people Uncle Tom, you know? Yeah. It's like you're, like, offended at a black person who made a joke about black people.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like,
I guess I just feel like there are words and there are subjects that they've been politicized so much that, and people are just downright afraid. They're afraid to, I don't know, talk back or step outside the given box, or I guess Ben Shapiro likes to call it the Overton window, but that window has closed so much that you can't step outside of anything. You can't have a conversation. So I, as a Christian, can't be friends with a gay person because I automatically, with those beliefs, want to go and hurt that person. No, I just disagree with them. So
yeah, and it's like,
go ahead.
And it's like if people take it personally, if people take your views personally, they're idiots. Yeah. Because, like, you never even had an interaction with them to even have any opinion of them personally. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, I've had Democrat friends and I've had Republican friends, and I've had some Republican friends that have been, like, so, I don't know, like, just over the top. If you don't fit in, like, the Trump supporting box, then you're cast out. And then I've also had Democrat friends who I'm perfectly willing to come to the table and have a conversation and acknowledge that we both probably disagree on all of these things, but we can still be friends. And they're just like, no, we cannot. No, we can't even have this conversation.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's on both sides that there's just this, we can't talk about this. There are certain things that we just cannot talk about, or we can't be friends anymore because X. And I'm just like, but I'm the same person I was before you knew I had this opinion. But I don't know. I get frustrated about that.
It's hurtful. It's hurtful that, like, you have a relationship with someone and suddenly you're not a person to that person anymore because you're not a person to them anymore because of some external factors that you can't control.
Yeah. So, I kind of want to move on to social media because, again, I find that you're kind of like an underrated guru on this because you've got this massive Twitter site that, you've got so many people following you, and then you've got your YouTube is actually growing, what I consider to be surprisingly fast. I guess, do you feel like the, I don't feel like either parties are really, utilizing social media necessarily in a way that's going to attract young people because it's so divisive, and I feel like there's this group of people that just is tired of the Trump hates this meme, or we hate Trump for that meme, or whatever. Do you think there's a better way that political messaging can come across on social media?
There's so much money that's going into social media right now because people are starting to realize how effective it is. And unfortunately, it's political money. A lot of it is political money. So people are putting money into, manufactured tweets like, Trump will build his wall and he will make America great again. And it's like, it's not that the idea is toxic in any way. I'm pro-wall, but it's the politics money. I call it politics money, but it's like it's the idea that people are being conditioned with it becomes artificial, and people aren't having a conversation anymore. They're becoming conditioned to think a certain way. It makes social media kind of like a battlefield instead of a place where people are sharing ideas. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, I totally agree with you on that front because I feel like the conservative message and like the freedom message has kind of gotten lost in the whole idea of we have to.
Yeah, because now conservatives are. Sorry, I just interrupted you again.
No, go ahead.
Now conservatives are doing the same exact thing that they're accusing liberals of doing.
Yeah. It's all about now whoever the thought leader of the day is. So right now it's Donald Trump is the president, and so you have to support him. And if you don't, then you're cast out of the Republican Party, basically. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot of the same regurgitated lines over and over again without a lot of, I don't know, talk from real people. And maybe there hasn't always been a lot of talk from real people, but I felt like social media was a little more genuine in the beginning because it was people running their own sites, and now it's people paying other people to run their sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like that with Twitter, and now it's like that with YouTube. Like, Twitter and YouTube used to be just people who are like, just little people like me who just go and blog their little thoughts and their thoughts of the day, or they go on YouTube and they turn on a webcam and they talk about stuff, whatever they want, and it's a little, place to share ideas. Now it's like so much money is being poured into this stuff, and it's like, I love social media, and I feel like it's so underrated, but at the same time, I feel scared for people to discover how powerful it is, because now all these big corporations and lobbying, all these, political groups are moving in with their toxic money, and they're just, YouTube is just taking out all the little individual creators, and they're putting in place like these like media sponsored, like corporate type, personalities, and Twitter is like bringing in all these big, these people who grow big on Twitter. They're being paid by some political thing, and then they get attacked. I'm totally going off on a tangent, and but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to see, like, it's some of these channels on YouTube that are getting, like, demonetized or even removed. They're not even political sites. Like, I have a friend who's very interested in like, makeup and all the makeup tutorials that are going on. And that's, like, a huge, like, section of YouTube. It's just, like, makeup tutorials and how to do this and how to do that. And these little individual people that started up these channels and now have lots of views, they're now having their monetization taken away because reasons, according to YouTube, because they don't even really give you any reasons other than we don't like you. But it does feel like the little entrepreneurial people that are trying to start up stuff on YouTube are the ones getting pushed out, and then the big brands are going to be all that's left because they're the ones with the money.
Yeah, exactly. And these are people who actually have contacts within Google and Twitter and all these companies, and it's just the power dynamic is just so skewed. And it's not fun either. Like these social media sites, it becomes uninteresting. Like you don't want to sit. I mean, TV is going down. Television, like people don't watch cable television as much anymore because they want something that's real. And that's like when I ask people why you watch my YouTube, like my live streams that I do at night, zero preparation, I have zero experience. This is my first podcast.
Yeah.
No experience, no nothing. No money that I put into it. I barely get dressed up. And I don't know what I'm talking about until I start talking. And the thing that people, and like the last month I checked my analytics, the total viewers that I got was almost half of what CNN gets on a bad day.
That's crazy.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? And it's like, and I know that I'm just a little, like the puppy dog compared to a lot of these other influencers. Imagine what some of these other influencers are getting. And so, like, people don't want to watch TV. And when I ask people, why are you watching my show? They always say the same exact thing. They say, we just want, like, someone who's authentic. We just want to watch someone be awkward and make us feel like a person. Like, okay, there's a human being there. I feel like I can relate to this person because they're just awkward and real like me.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I watch your show. Because I feel like you are authentic. You're just a human being.
I feel like you've got that too. You've got a lot of that, like, it's like a quirkiness.
Yeah, I mean, like, that, it's actually very similar to a lot of the feedback that I got on my, not this show, but on my my last show that I did, when I would bring multiple people on. And then one of the reasons why people loved that show, which was probably my most popular show, was because they wanted to see the real life young conservative millennials talking to each other. And I even brought on some Democrats, I think. But people wanted to see that. They wanted to see, oh, these faces on Twitter are actually real people and real human beings. And it was really fun for them to get to see us interact like that. And we've kind of already talked about my next question, but I just kind of wanted to reference the fact that my content is mostly, or I guess not mostly, but it's half for me, because it's just me wanting to talk about stuff that I feel like I don't get to say on a day-to-day basis. And then half of it, of course, is for the audience and what I think they might be interested in hearing. But so you've already pretty much answered my question, but you basically, you just talk about what you've heard during the day or what you feel like talking about. You don't do any prep, and I think that that's really cool, because I at least do a little bit of prep, because I get nervous and I'm like, if I don't have a piece of paper, I'm gonna die. But that is really, really awesome that you don't do any prep. It's just all off the cuff. That's amazing.
Yeah, and like, usually I have a title, so I do have to like be like, okay, what is my title going to be? Okay, here's my title. And then just go from that.
Yeah.
The title for my live stream. So I type down I type in a title, let's say it's like the last thing on my mind was, we had this. The last thing on my mind was like, they were talking about, I don't even remember, what was I talking about earlier? Oh yeah, like polygamy.
Yeah.
The last thing on my mind is polygamy. So here, let's talk about it. And it's just like a wacky topic. Or like...
That definitely got me to click on it, by the way. I was like, what are they talking about now?
That was such an awkward show. Like, I just think of deleting that one. I got a lot of negative feedback, to be honest, on that one. I think people don't like the ones that I bring guests on. They like it when it's just me.
That's interesting, because people don't like it when I don't bring guests on. So, I don't know. Maybe they just like you individually better than everybody else.
Yeah. It's probably just the way my live streams are styled. It's like more of a diary style. And then when I bring other people on, I'm not as authentic because I'm like trying to be this person. So that, yeah.
So you and I basically have opposite audiences, I would say then. But I do think, kind of going back to the fact that I've had now, I think 4 different shows. I had a Periscope show that wasn't really an official show. It was just me talking. And then I had the original live stream show, and then I had Renegade Millennials, which was the big one. And then, I mean, big is relatively speaking, obviously. And then I have this one now. I find that once I stop enjoying something myself, I can't do it anymore. So I guess I'm wondering if you feel like, not necessarily with this show, but if you've had any other experiences with social media projects or any project, if you stop enjoying it, then do you just think I have to push through it, or do you just drop it altogether?
I tried vlogging every night, and I tried vlogging, and it kind of worked, but then I got, like, it's too much writing, and I don't like writing because it's like I just have to sit in a corner and, like, I'm a writer, and that's what I do for my job. I work in PR as a writer, and, like, everything I do is writing, but I feel like I was kind of pigeonholed into that profession because I don't enjoy writing as much. Because I have to sit, like, I'm a good writer, but I just have to sit in front of a laptop, and so I just got bored. And then the live streaming is different. Tweeting is different because it's also live. It's kind of, little live updates. And then the live streams are also, like, you get to interact and be more public.
So, I guess my next question is, what are your tips for successful social media? Because we've kind of talked about what the big pitfalls are, and kind of getting, drowned out by the big money people and all of that, or not being authentic and all that kind of stuff. So, what would your tips for being successful at YouTube or Twitter or whatever? What would your tips be?
I would say try to find, like, a brand, like, try to know what your brand is, and be consistent. So, like, let's say you want to talk about makeup. Well, let's say your brand is like, okay, I'm a lawyer who analyzes political stuff, like Will Chamberlain. He's like one of those people. He's an attorney, and he does live streams about the legal aspect of politics, like in Washington. And so he built his brand really quickly because he was consistent. He did his live streams consistently, and he grew a Twitter following very quickly. And so with my YouTube, it was the same thing. I do the live streams every night at around the same time, and I try not to miss it. And I do it and people are like, why do you do them for so long? And the reason, by the way, my live streams are so long is because, first of all, I get more hours watched. the more hours watched, the sooner I get paid. The sooner I get to monetize my channel.
Mm.
And then the other reason is like my brand. The reason why people watch my live streams is a lot of people aren't watching it. They're not sitting and watching it. They leave it on and they go and do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just like to hear it, or they like to sometimes go back and glance at it. It feels like there's a person in the room talking to them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's exactly what I do with it. I listen to it in the background while I'm working.
Nice. I like that. And so like I feel like that's like a it's kind of weird at first, but it becomes your brand, I guess, like if you keep doing it consistently.
Yeah, I've been doing my best to be consistent about this show. I haven't missed a week yet, although I almost missed this last week because I was playing too much Minecraft. But so
what is it you're playing?
Minecraft. I've gotten back into video games lately.
Oh, cool. Do you ever think of gaming?
I actually have thought about starting a Twitch so that I can do like the live gaming thing, but my internet connection at home right now will not support that yet. But that might be coming. So just so the audience knows, that might be a thing that's happening, but it might not happen for a couple months yet. So.
Oh, okay.
My last question for you, or unless you had something to follow up.
Oh, I would watch. I think you gaming would be fun, like a gaming live stream.
I do too. I think it would be amazing because I that's kind of it's not something that I've advertised that I actually am kind of into video games and all that kind of thing, but and I also just haven't had time over like the last 5 years to even do it, but now I'm kind of like, all right, I'm gonna get back into this and see if people want to watch me play, because I love to yell at the screen while I'm playing too. It's just so much fun.
Oh, perfect.
It's like a football game, only it's not. So the last question I have for you is the most important question, and it is, who are your favorite like 2 or 3 people to follow on Twitter? Or you can do more, I don't care, it's fine.
Oh, so many. Let me think. Right now I really like Andrew Yang. I don't know why. I really like Andrew Yang because his stuff is really, he's got good stuff.
Mm.
I like Tim Pool. Tim Pool's always on point with everything, and he talks a lot about free speech, which I care about a lot, and anti-censorship. I really like, oh my god, I forgot the other person that I was just thinking about. There's this person, her name is Ava Victor, and she only recently started Twitter, and she grew huge, like very quickly. And because another thing about Twitter that makes you big is if you keep posting videos, like little video clips. That makes me huge. I mean, that's how Ryan Saavedra, did really well, and this girl, Ava Victor, she does, like, the little clips, like, little videos of herself, and they're so funny. And so she's been doing that, like, she does it, like, every day, and her her videos get a lot of traction. I love watching those videos. Like, she's great.
That's really interesting, because it used to be that Twitter had the algorithm set to favor photos, but it seems like they've switched that. I just hate this whole algorithm thing. I wish that they just had... It's almost like how I want just a flat tax.
Oh, they're favoring videos?
Well, it just seems like that, because it used to be that they would favor photos, and now it seems like they're favoring video more. Anyway, I just think I just wish that there wasn't like a favoring anything, that big posts would just get big because people like them. But Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of them have to mess with the system as always.
I hate it. Oh my gosh.
All right.
Wrong day, people.
Well, I have to wrap up the show. I could talk to you for hours, but it's been fantastic having you on, Pardes. I will have to have you on again, and I will talk to the rest of the audience on next week's episode. I've got a couple of great guests coming up as well. But please like and subscribe at Pardes' video, and go over to her channel and subscribe as well, because YouTube is her thing now, so you need to give her all the support you can.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Pardes.